serious issue that we're battling with here in South Africa. I think there are similar issues playing out around the world, and it's the issue around COVID and our children. Now, SADTU's Deputy Secretary General or General Secretary Nkosana Dolopi has indicated that government shouldn't be surprised when pupils got the virus. There's a huge outcry that government is cutting corners instead of dealing with the problem of COVID-19, which is spreading rapidly in schools. Nkosana Dolopi, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good
Hello.
morning. Good morning, and good morning to your listeners. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being on the show. It's a very serious problem. Parents obviously are worried that the children might contract the virus, get desperately sick, and you don't know what happens thereafter, also passing the virus on to scores of other people. You claiming that obviously government has been cutting corners. My understanding a while ago was that government has tried to spruce up all the schools. The Department of Education has indicated that money was set aside to make the schools ready to do in-school learning once again.
Yes, indeed. I think, look, even ourselves as a union, we always believe that our learners should go back to school. We have always had this belief that our learners are losing out from the fact that they are staying at home and they're not coming to school on a daily basis. So we have been amongst those who supported the idea that more at the primary phase that learners should go back to school. But our point has always been that when we do return learners back to school, they should go back to schools that are safe, that are conducive for learning and teaching, to schools that will not become spreader zones, to schools that will not become hot spots. So the question of their safety and the safety of the teachers has always been something that we have been foregrounding. So we even raised the key issue around the question of the provision of PPEs and also adhering to all other regulations that were put forward by the government itself, but also by the World Health Organization. One of them was the question of social distancing. We always raise the issue of social distancing, but especially for our schools in the townships and our schools in the rural areas, because we know that these schools are always faced with questions of overcrowded classes. You wouldn't be surprised to get a class of 60 to 80 learners. So we're also saying that if you return these learners at these schools, will you be able to make provision for social distancing such that you attend to the question of overcrowding? Because we know where we are learners crammed into a class, they are always vulnerable and also susceptible to get the virus. So those were the issues that we are raising. And of course, without being vindictive, it's just to say that, yes, indeed, now we almost vindicated, because here we have learners a surge experience at schools now, which is really, really unfortunate. And we need everything ought to be done to stop this from spreading further.
Now, Nkosana, we understand that several schools around the country, not only in a particular province, but around the country, and in KZN alone, 85 cases were recorded amongst children and teachers, with 9 schools having to suspend classes. So that's exactly what you're talking to. What is government saying to you when you take these figures to them and indicate that the situation is just not workable?
Look, they will always, of course, come to defend themselves, to say they are making everything, they're doing everything possible to make sure that our schools are safe. Whereas we are speaking from experience, because remember, we are representing teachers from the ground. Those are the ones who give us information from there. So we are able to speak with confidence because we are getting this information from them. So we are saying it should not be a question of politicking, not a question of competing about who is right and who is wrong, but it's about the question of the safety of our learners. It's about the future of our country. It's also about taking care of the safety of our teachers. Remember, in our country, we do have serious shortage of teachers. That's why we protect the few that we are having, because we know if we can lose many of the teachers that we have, even one of them is too many. We can't afford to lose them, because we know if we lose them, it will be difficult to get teachers into the classroom. That's why we want to make sure that everybody must really take them serious, protect them, such that we protect the education of our country, but also the future of our country.
Obviously, you need to negotiate very seriously with the Department of Education, possibly even the Department of Health, and raise the issue about possible vaccinations for children, school children, to be rolled out. But very especially Department of Education, what are you asking for? What needs to happen to make the safety of our children and our teachers a priority?
Well, look, vaccination is one of the issues that we are raising, that we must make sure that we roll it out. But you must also remember that vaccination alone is not a silver bullet. It does not mean that if you are vaccinated, you will not be infected. So we are saying there are other non-pharmaceutical issues, provisions that we ought to be attending to. One of them is the provision of PPEs, the question of availability of water, and key to it is this question of social distancing. To make sure that learners are not crammed in classes. I mean, that's the key issue that we continue raising, and we hope they will be able to address it. But you must remember, the question of overcrowded classes, is not an issue that we are raising now that we are faced with coronavirus. It has been something that as SADTU we've been raising for years, because we always knew that the overcrowded classes in the townships and in the rural schools are not conducive for learning and teaching. Remember, a teacher needs to attend to each individual learner in the classroom. So you can't attend to all these learners if they are 60 and if they are 80. So we have always called for the cut in the number of classes, such that our learners then are taught in an environment that is conducive, where learners can get individual attention and support and love and care from our teachers. So COVID is just compounding some of the problems that we always had, like the question of the provision of water, toilets, and so on and so forth. So we are saying our government, our leaders, should not miss this opportunity during this COVID time to be able to address all these challenges, so that when we do get out of this phase of our lives, our schools can become conducive areas for proper learning and teaching to be able to take place for our children.
Absolutely, and we do hope that you raise the issue around the pit toilets as well. We do know that we've lost 1 or 2 school children very tragically by, the whole pit toilet situation. We do hope that you're going to engage very vigorously with government, and that they hear you and start putting the right support structures in place. Thank you indeed, Nkosana Dolopi, SADTU's Deputy General Secretary, raising the issue that government is cutting corners instead of dealing with the problems of not only COVID-19, but other issues such as overcrowding, dilapidated classrooms, the dilapidated bathroom facilities in rural schools and even city schools. So you go well and raise that flag as high as you can for the safety of our children.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
8:50 exactly. This is News and Views.